in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone. Any questions for me before we get started? Are you guys able to hear me? Okay, fine. All right. So it's been a long weekend for us, right? So we didn't have a class on the Friday, then we didn't even have the class yesterday too. All right. Okay. So if you guys got no questions, then I would like to move on to the next topic where I'll be focusing a lot on the JDK features like JDK 1.5 feature or JDK 1.6 features and all the stuff. So I think we are on to the day 17, 18, not sure what is this, we did, okay, yeah. Day 18 was on threads, so let me create a new package called day 19. Then I name it as generic. Now let's see what is the significance of generics. I won't be I won't be discussing about the definition or something. I just create a class and I'm sure you will be able to figure it out. What is the significance of generics, right? Okay. So I got a main method. Then before that, before I do something in the main method, I would like to display integers. How do we display integers? Right. So this is how I display integers. Integer array. Let's say, I'm sorry, or I can also use for each loop. Now this is to display integer elements. I got a class and the class got two methods. One is the main method, other one is a print method. The print method is used to print the array elements. The print method is used to print the array elements. The print method is used to print the array elements. The print method is used to print the array elements. The print method is used for printing the array elements. Now, let me pass an integer array. I have these elements. Then I am calling the print method for printing array elements. Yeah, got printed. Now, I also want to print float elements. I also want to print float elements. Now what I am going to do? Same. I am going to call the print array with float elements. What about character array? The character array. Perfect. What about the string array? So what do you observe from this? What do you think? What exactly you think of this program? Or is there any analysis you want to do on this? Do you think we have any solution? Can we do anything better than what I'm doing now? Yeah. Yes. we right here, if you observe carefully, what exactly the thing is, the kind of job we are doing is same. We are printing array elements. We are printing integer array elements. We are printing float array elements. We are printing character array elements. We are also printing string array elements. Right. Printing integer array elements, float array elements, character array elements, string array elements. We are printing different array elements. But the concern is, we ended up in writing 4 methods. Whereas if you observe the 4 methods, the implementation is same, the only change is in data type. The implementation is same, the only change is in data type. The implementation is same, the only change is in data type. Now how do we avoid this? How do we avoid this? We can use concept called generics. We can use a concept called generics. Now, according to this generic concept, we won't be specifying the data type. We won't be specifying a data type, whereas in the place of data type, we will be specifying a letter, a uppercase alphabet. Mostly we go with capital T or capital V. Mostly we go with capital T or capital V. Mostly we go with capital T or capital V. Right. See how the problem has been resolved. Instead of writing 4 different methods, I have written a single method. Which is capable of 4 different methods. But instead of, while defining that method, I didn't specify any data type. While defining that method, did I specify any data type? No, I didn't specify any data type. So I specified an uppercase letter. It can be capital T or capital E. That is a standard convention everybody follows. Either you go with the E or either you go with the T. That's it. Now the C gets resolved to respective data types. When you call the print method with integer array, the T gets resolved into integer array. When you call it with the float, T gets resolved into float type. Character, T gets resolved into character. When you pass string, T gets resolved into a string. Now, how do we restrict? I mean, now this is fine. But what I would like to do is, in this package, I'm going to come up with a class called student. And in the student class, I'm going to have variable called ID. I'm also going to have variable called name. You got a variable called ID. You got a variable called name. And you got methods called getter and setter. Now what I'm going to do with that? Look at this part. I'm creating a student array. which is capable of holding 3 students together, then here we got. Now I am going to call print with student array. You don't see any compile time problem. You don't see any compile time problem. And I try to run the method. You see the output, the last 3 lines. You see the output, you observe the last 3 lines. Because I know that that is not the way to print an object. I know that that is not the way to print an object. The kind of logic what we have written, that is applicable for integers, it's applicable for floats, it's applicable for characters, it's applicable for strings, but it is not applicable for what? It is not applicable for the student array. It is not applicable for the student array. Right. But how do I restrict? How do I restrict from passing? How do I restrict from passing student array? How do I restrict from passing student array? Or how do I restrict from passing which is not compatible for this logic? How do I restrict from passing which is not compatible for this logic? Which is not compatible for this logic. So we have a solution, but this is not the appropriate solution now, but for time being I pass this. If you see here, and when you go to the bottom of the page, you see a red color mark now, saying that this is not applicable. The print method is not going to accept an array of type student. It is not going to accept an array of type student. So what we can do is, while creating those generics, with the help of extends keyword, we can restrict what to pass and what not to pass. We can put a restriction on what to pass and what not to pass. What not to pass. I just got rid of it again. Now it getting printed. I have a solution for this, and I'll come back to the previous solution later. Get a toString method here that will fix the problem. Go back and print it. Student ID 1001, name Arun. Now let me discuss another scenario. Where restricting the data type becomes mandatory. I'm creating a class maximum with a main method. Then I would like to define a max method Now the same logic holds good for character. The same logic holds good for characters. It also holds good for float. It also holds good for float. But will it hold good for string array? No. No. So when I don't want to write three different methods. I want to write a generic. And as you know, when we write a generic, what we do? When we write a generic, what we do? Instead of the data type, we specify some alphabet. Uppercase letter. But if you see, it gives you a red color mark because this greater than symbol is not applicable. What do you mean by T? T is open for any data type. T is open for any data type. T is open for any data type. It is open for character, it is open for string, it is open for boolean, it is open for student, it is open for employee, it is open for everything. But how do we restrict? But is your greater than symbol works for integers? Yes. Works for float? Yes. Works for character? Yes. But is the greater than symbol works for string? No, it doesn't compare string. Will it be able to compare the students? No, it will not be able to compare the students. So how should I restrict? Undefined for the arguments. So what are you doing here? You were asking, you can pass only those things which have extended the integer. Actually, number should also be allowed. Okay. So when you are creating a generic, you're going to specify extends keyword and you're going to specify allow only those classes which have extended integer. So that is the advantage of this. So if you see here, I'll create what is that method? We'll say int max equal to, the method name was max. Perfect. It's allowing. Then again, what else? I'm passing integers. I'm printing max of m comma n. Again, there is a problem. Not applicable for the arguments. Input type long is not a valid substitute. Yeah. So it's only allowing the classes which have extended the integer or within the range of integer. If you put long, so this is allowed and this is not allowed. It should be a type called number which should be allowed actually here. Here there is no problem. Okay. Okay. I can do something. I can have something called comparable because you're already familiar with comparable. But okay, this won't be applicable here. Perfect. Let's stick to integer. So this is how you can restrict to restrict what we can pass through the generic method. What we can pass it to the generic method. So extends is a keyword, right, through which we will specify what arguments are valid for the generic method and what arguments are not valid for the generic method. Then it's not only that we can write generic methods, we can also write generic classes. We can also write generic classes. Right. So how do we write the generic classes? Now I want to define a complex data type. So I got a class complex. Normally what I do while creating a class complex is within this class I'll declare two real numbers and imaginary numbers. Normally I go like this: private int real and private int imaginary, and I write. Now I don't want, because I can also have float as a real, I can also have float as a imaginary. Now in this case, again I follow the concepts of generics. Getters and setters. Then how they get resolved, when I'm saying here complex run. Now if you observe, I'll be creating an object to generate instance members. I'll be creating an object to generate instance members. While creating an object, you're going to specify, while creating objects, you're going to specify what you want the instance members to be, integers or. So now it says 1. 1 is a complex representing real and imaginary, and real and imaginary are integer values. Now what? Now 2 is representing a complex. Now 2 is representing a complex, right? And it got real and imaginary, and they are of what type? Real and imaginary, and they are of what type? Float type. They are of what type? Float type. So any questions on this particular part? The generics part. I hope you understood the purpose of generics, and we can also impose restrictions on what arguments to be passed to the generic method with the help of this extends keyword. With the help of this extends keyword. So any question on this part? Yeah, sure. Here is a complex class, and while creating the class you use that alphabet generic T, or you can also use E, and you declare a variables of type T, and you also have a method whose return type is T. They are taking arguments of T type. But when this values gets converted into the respective data type seeds, while creating the objects you specify the data type. So now when I say one dot set real, what it is expecting? It is expecting an integer. Similarly, when I say one dot set imaginary, of course it is also expecting an integer. Right. Similarly, when it comes to 2, now if you see 2 dot set real, it is expecting a float. 2 dot set imaginary, it is expecting a float too. I think with this example, you guys you should be able to understand how your collection framework works. When you use array list and you specify integer, right? What happens? All your methods, if you see, okay, let me do this. Array list is, I'm creating an array list object. Array list dot add. Now it is open for any data type, object type. Whatever you pass, it accepts it. Whereas you can do now, while creating object, you specify the data type, what you are interested in. Now you try to do it, what happens? The methods all changes to integer type. So that is the power of your generics. And this generic concept is widely used in the implementations of the collection framework, because collection framework is a collection of objects, right? So it can be a collection of integers, collection of floats, collection of doubles. So they won't be writing a separate method for collection of integers, collection of float. I mean, you don't have a separate implementation for array list of integers, array list of floats, array list of doubles. So they use this generic concept. They use this concept of generics, and with the help of this generic concepts, right, and they have written the methods only once, but they can be applied to every data type. That can be applied to every data type. Yeah. Is it clear, or any questions? Okay. Ishita, did I answer your question, or is it clear this stuff? Okay. Yeah. Now, what next? So you guys have any idea about the annotations, or you heard of annotations before? Okay, fine. Okay, so uh, first, before we get into the annotations, I would like to discuss, how exactly your application works, web application. All right. So normally what exactly happens is when it comes to web application, right, you will be making a request, right? You will be making a request. So you open the browser, and in the address bar, you type some URL, right? You open the address, you type some URL. Now what happens after this? It connects to server. It can be any server, So how it connects to server? Because when I say www.w3schools.com, do I know where this website is hosted? Do I know where this website is hosted? I have no clue where is this website is hosted. Then as soon as I open the browser, suppose if my computer is connected to the internet, then I open the browser, and in the address bar I type the URL, then it connects to the server. It connects to the server where this website is hosted. Now how that is being tracked? Right? So that is not something which is in respect to, we need to discuss with respect to this class. So how that is being tracked is we have something called DNS, domain name service. So you can just look at all this information on the internet, you will understand, So when I open the browser and type the address, how it will know that so and so website is hosted on so and so server. So and so website is hosted on so and so server. So how that information is being retrieved. So that is not something which I am interested in. So you can read that information on the internet. You'll find a lot of tutorials. So once it finds the server, what happens? It locates the server where the website is hosted. Now after locating the server, what happens? After locating the server where the website is hosted, what next? Alright, every server has a container, mostly called as, I'll be getting back to this discussion again, but mostly called as Servlet Container. Every server has a container, we call it as a Servlet Container. Now what that Servlet Container will do is, right, it locates the server where the website is hosted, and every server got a container called as Servlet Container. Now that Servlet Container, right, that Servlet Container looks into that website or looks into the folder of the respective website. Right, now you can see what I'm doing here, w3schools.com. Then now I reached what? I reached the server, and server got a container. Now that container will open the w3schools.com folder, and it opens some file for me. Now when I click on this learn HTML, now you see here, you see this stuff. Now what happens is, this is what again a URL pattern. So what exactly happens is, the Servlet Container looks into the folder of the respective website and opens a configuration file. Normally you see them as XML files. What do you see them as? XML files. Configuration files are XML files. Now the container reads XML file and start searching for URL value in the XML file. Start searching for URL value in the XML file. If URL value is found, then corresponding page is loaded. Corresponding page is loaded. Else, you get an exception called page not found. So on the whole, what I would like to discuss is the XML file. So what happens is your container is reading the XML file and figuring out your container is reading the XML file, and if the URL is found, if corresponding page is loaded. If the URL is not found, then it gives you a message called page not found exception. Now here what is happening is, at the end of the day, you are reading an XML file. That is, container is reading an XML file and start searching for a URL value. Now today I have only 10 web pages. Today I have only 10 web pages. Is it better now? Okay, let me know if you face the same difficulty again. Yeah. So the problem is, today you have 10 web pages. You got 10 web pages. So you have 10 URLs. Tomorrow you have 100 web pages. Then what I need to do? I need to add 100 URLs in the XML. Otherwise it won't work. Your application doesn't work. But don't you think it's gonna be a pain? Don't you think it's gonna be a pain? Because the more the pages, the more URLs in the XML. And suppose if I want to do any modification, I also need to modify the XML document. So we depended till J2EE 1.4. We depended on this XML documents only. Why we depended on XML documents? Because they are platform neutral. So we're going to talk about this again. Right? So they are not platform neutral, so we started using those XML documents a lot. But later we realized that this maintaining the XML documents is a pain. Later we realized that maintaining the XML documents is pain. So from Java E5 onwards, we started using annotations. In place of XML. Now it doesn't mean that annotations are replacing XML. It doesn't mean that annotations are not replacing, or annotations are replacing XML. Annotations are not replacing XML, but to save our energy or to save our efforts, we are not using XML. Instead of XML, we started using annotations. But XML got its own role. But in the place of XML, we are using the annotations. Now what is the significance of annotations? Now when I go back here, okay, now if you see here, there is a warning message. What is the warning message says? This java.util.arraylist is never used. Just give me a minute. back. So there are some warning messages. So it's not that example which I would like to refer to. Let's go back to the example of collection framework when we did. I'm not sure which class we did collection framework. Yeah, here. If you see, do you see these warnings here? Right. Because we are not specifying we are not restricting the array list to one particular type. So since we didn't specify the type, there were some warning messages. But these warnings are something which can be ignored. These warnings are something which can be ignored. So when I click on it, it gives me two solutions. It gives me a solution, right? Of course, it gives me two solutions. One is make your array list. When you are creating your array list, specify the data type. When you are creating your array list, specify the data type. That is one thing. Other thing is, if you don't want to specify the data type, you can ignore these warnings with the help of an annotation call @suppress warning. With the help of an annotation call @suppress warning. This is annotation is all about, right? So your annotations are nothing but what? They are metadata. They are metadata. They add a little more description. They add a little more description. They add little more description. So its annotation is what? Annotation is a code about the code. Annotation is a code about the code, that is metadata about the program itself. About the program itself. So you might be saying, why should I use annotations? I can use comments to describe the code, right? Now I said annotation is what? It's a code about the code. It's a metadata about the program. So what is metadata? Description of the data. So why should I use annotations? Why can't I use only comments? Because comments helps me to describe the data. Comments helps me to describe the code. Then why should I use annotations? Why should I use annotations? Why can't I make use of the comments? So your annotations is much more than metadata. Your annotations acts like metadata, but it's not that annotations are only meant for metadata. It's much more than metadata. Now, how long your comments live? Can you guess how long your comments will be available? Is your comments available only till the source code? Are your comments available in the compilation code also? Or your comments are also available while executing the program? Take a wild guess. You have a source code. In the source code, you have a comment. How long this comment? Is this comment line only available in the .java file, or after compilation, whatever the compile code we get, is that comments you see it also you also see in the compile code? Yeah, we see comments only in the source code. We don't see comments in the compile code. We don't see comments at the execution part, right? So your comments are only available in the source code. Once you compile a code, you don't see your comments available. You don't see your comments available. So your comments are available only till the source code. Whereas your annotations are available at 3 levels. Your annotations are available at 3 levels. Annotations is available only till the source code. Annotation is available in the dot class file. Annotation is also available during runtime. So annotation is also available during runtime. So your annotations are available till the compilation. Annotations are available only till the source code. Annotations are also available till the runtime. Okay, so we will be coming across lot of annotations because these days we are not using J2EE 1.4 a lot. We use Java EE 5 and Java EE 6. So your Java EE 5 and 6, they make use of annotations in a big deal. Very less they make use of the XML document. So XML they still make use of, but not to that large extent which we were using in JDK, that is J2EE 1.4. But now we use a lot of annotations and a very small scale of XML too. Right? Now, how people will be able to create their own annotations? So how will people will be able to create their own annotations, and how long these annotations are going to be available, right? So we're going to see a very small example based on annotations, and we're also going to see a small example on reflections. Right? Now, here we are into 3.19, stated generic. Package. Now in this package, I'm going to create, so let me create a package. So you already have a package called java.day.19.annotation. So let me create an interface as developer. When I use @ in front of it, then it becomes an annotation. What is the annotation? Developer. Now this is a simple value annotation. It's a simple value annotation. Now, how long you want this annotation to be available? You want this annotation to be available till the runtime. So here I'm going to specify the retention policy. The retention policy is till the runtime. So you created your own annotation, right? You created your own annotation called developer, and how long this annotation gonna be available? It's gonna be available till the runtime, because while creating the annotation you specified the retention policy as the runtime. Now let me create another class. So this is only for information. Unless and until you define your own frameworks, you won't be creating your own annotations. Unless and until, like you have a struts framework, Spring framework. Okay, so if you want to write or Hibernate ORM, when you want to write your own frameworks, then only you need to build your own annotations. Otherwise you don't need to. You just make use of the annotations which are already existing. So I'm creating a class, right? And in this class I'm going to define the methods. Right. In this class I'm going to define the method, right? Now just I'm giving a message. Now on top of this class I will be using the annotation which I created, right? And that annotation got one method. What is the method? The value. How do you pass value to that, right? This is how you do it. Similarly, you can add as many methods as you want. I'm adding another one. Okay. Now you have a class, it got methods, and on top of each method I have put an annotation. Now I would like to use reflection. I would like to use a reflection API. I would like to use a reflection API. Now what is this reflection API? Now I said earlier that I read an XML document to check whether the URL value exists in the XML document or not. Now I said after Java EE 5 onwards we are not using XML, instead we are using annotations. Now annotations are written as a part of a Java program. Annotations are written as a part of a Java program. But I should be able to read that annotation, right? I should check whether the annotation exists or not. I should check annotation exists or not, and I should be able to read that annotation value. So how do I do that? There is something called a reflection API. Now what is, alright, the significance of reflection API? With the help of this reflection API, you will be able to dissect the Java program. We're going to dissection, right? Java program. You will be able to do that. Let's see how. Public static void main. Here you got a main method. Now look at this. I got a for each. Now here I am doing here method. Now where is this method comes from? java.lang.reflect. Okay. Now here I am doing is what? I am loading a class. I am loading a class. Now within this I am giving the class name. What is the class name? Java dot, no. What is the package name I have? Day dot 19 dot annotations dot. The class name I got it as what? Build house. Right. Then get methods. Get methods. So I'm getting all the methods of the class build house. Right. Then at a given point of time it accepts only one method. No? This is your for each loop. How your for each loop works? Right hand side you write a collection. So when you say get methods, what is the return type of get methods method? It returns an array. And from that array you get one method at a time. Now what you want to do with the help of that one method? What do you want to do with the help of the one method? I want to check whether that method consists of an annotation or not. That method consists of an annotation or not. So I want to check if that method, on that method is annotation present. What annotation you want to check? Which annotation you want to check whether it is present or not? So I want to check day.19.annotations.developer. So I'm checking whether this annotation is present on, the method or not. Day.19.annotations.developer. Now, if it exists, it returns true, right? Then you just give a message, yes. Let's try run this. You got the message yes, yes twice. Go back to the build house, remove annotation from one of the methods. Now you try to run it. You don't see the yes twice, you see the yes only once. So this is how you are gonna read, alright, the metadata with the help of the reflection API. So it's not only helps you to read the metadata with the help of reflection API, you can do a lot of stuff. Alright, is annotation present? You said yes. Annotation present? You said yes. Now what else we can do? So method dot get the modifiers. So method dot get name. Now you can run it and see. What is the modifier? 1. 1 is your public. Because do we have a public method? Yes. And what is the other one we had? The second one was method name. What was the method name? Say hello. What was the method name? Say hi. So what are you able to do with the help of reflection? With the help of reflection, you are able to see what is the access specifier of the method, what is the name of the method. You can also find out the arguments also. Right. What is the return type and what are the type parameters. Right. There is no type parameters here because it is not taking any arguments. So it tells you, with the help of this reflection API, you can find out the class name and you can find out the methods of the class, and you can also find out the access specifier. You can also find out how many constructors it got and what are the arguments of the constructor. Everything you will be able to read. Alright, you just need to know the class name and it belongs to which package. That's it. With the help of reflection API, you will be able to read everything of a class. Of course, you cannot read the source code, but you can read the method name, access specifier, and the arguments, the type of the arguments, the constructors of a class, how many constructors it got, and how many arguments the constructor got, what is the access specifier of the constructor. You will be able to read everything with the help of this, with the help of the reflection. And what is the significance of annotations? It gives you an additional information, and sometimes this additional information can be available till the runtime, it can be available till the compilation time, it can be available till only till the source code. Right. So you're going to see the annotations a lot in the future, but you will not be developing annotations of our own, but we will be using the annotations which is already given by a lot of frameworks. We're going to see Spring Framework, we're going to study Hibernate ORM, and we're also going to do a lot of XML reading and JSON reading. So there you will be coming across a lot of annotations. So we will be discussing the significance of those annotations. So when it comes to creating your own annotations, that is very, very rare and less, because you get an opportunity to develop your own annotations only if you want to design your own framework. Otherwise, you don't need to develop a annotation of your choice. But in case if you want to develop annotation of your choice, this is what is syntax. How do you do it? And with the help of retention policy, you can specify how long you want that annotation to be available. Do you want the annotation to be available till the compilation time or run time, or source only till the source? So you have constant called runtime. The way you have a constant called runtime, you have other constants too. So you got a class, you got a source. So this annotation is applicable only till the source code. Now this annotation is applicable till the compile code, until the class. In the dot class file also you see that annotation. Now when you say runtime, your JVM will be able to read this annotation. Your JVM will be able to read this annotation. Yeah. Any question with respect to specific to annotations or reflection? I didn't discuss much about it because it's all about exploring the API. When it comes to reflection, it's all about exploring the API. The way I use something called a class call method. Now on this class call method, I call a method called get modifiers, get name, get type parameters. Now it's all about exploring the API only, reflection. So you see a lot of classes and you see a lot of methods on each class. With the help of them, you will be able to read the access specifier or arguments, return type of the methods. Or even for the classes also we can specify, we can read what access specifier the class got and what is the constructors, how many constructors it got. Everything we will be able to read the information. Means suppose if you don't have a source code handy with you, or if you don't have the interface API, then if you know the class name, then you can use the reflection API to know what is inside a class, what methods it got, what variables it got, what are the arguments, what are the return types, what is the access specifier. Then I discuss a small snippet, how do we create our own interface and how do we use it. And with the help of reflection API, how can we check whether the whether the annotation is present on the method or not. Yeah, any question? Alright, now what is left is there is concurrent programming is left. Tomorrow I will be discussing concurrent programming, and tomorrow we will devote some time for interview questions. It's been long, I have been postponing this. So we will be doing some interview questions and concurrent programming tomorrow. And day after tomorrow onwards we'll be getting into the Java EE Enterprise Edition. And I'm sorry for being late today. There was some the go-to meeting or whatever we use, go-to webinar, for doing this online class. There was some technical issue. It won't allow to create it won't allow to create the schedules for more than a month. So since we are into the new month, so I was not aware of this. So I ended up in creating. No, it's the same time. Listen, the same time what we start. It was something like 9 p.m. EST we start, right? So not delayed. Today it got delayed, but it will be our regular timing we get started. Because of that schedule creation in this go-to meeting, it got delayed today. Alright guys, okay, if you have no questions, I hope what we discussed today was clear for you. If not, let me know. We will also spend some time tomorrow. Alright. And if no questions now, thanks. Catch you in the next session.